For me, the interesting part of the three of these teams, 4 through 6, is the Phoenix Suns. They've jumped
I love
10
it.
spots and are just finally out of the play-in for now. We know with the Phoenix Suns that can go a multiple different ways at any time during the remainder of the season. 10 spots is kind of a lot for a team that's as inconsistent as the Phoenix Suns. No Devin Booker for the time being. Bradley Beal, some days he's hot, some days he's not. The team as a whole, not very deep, not really figuring out a way to play with each other consistently. 10's a lot, Bill. 10's a lot.
Yeah, so Devin came back for that win against Cleveland. They put up it was
right.
And producer Aaron's got to correct me. I think it was 88 points between the big three. So all right, I saw Collins that they jumped 10 spots from 15 to 5, and I literally jumped 10 feet out of my chair out in sort of outrage. But then I thought about it, and we had this conversation about the Suns yesterday, and I think I was more bullish than certainly than John, because we have this bet, and you. I'll make this case for Colin. I'm not sure about 5, but they looked so good against Cleveland last night. And I know, like you're playing a team that doesn't have Donovan Mitchell, but that's still a Cleveland and Mobley. It's still a Cleveland team that's been pretty gritty and plays pretty good defense, and they've had some good wins, including against Boston in the last week. So for me, I think like this is a perfect encapsulation that when these three guys play, and Beal looked pretty good too, right? That's sort of a question mark. I think they're outstanding. And I don't think we have a big three era anymore in the NBA. It's a lot of big twos and some depth and some other approaches. But this is a big three and basically nothing else. And Ashley, you can talk me out of it. I want your New Yorker common sense. But I find myself kind of being like, all right, like Kevin Durant might be 36 going on 102, and Book might be hurt all the time. And maybe I thought Beal was washed 4 weeks ago, but I'm kind of in. I like the way they're playing, and it's so much firepower.
I'm not sold just yet. Here's the thing. You beating a Donovan Mitchell-less Cavs team and all the other situations that Cleveland Cavaliers are dealing with right now doesn't move the needle for me. Now, look, I say this all the time. There are difference makers in teams. There are guys who can go ahead and supersede just a really bad situation on talent alone. In games, maybe. Sometimes in series, depending on what that matchup is. But my biggest concern is it seems that you cannot get the three of these guys on the court consistently enough to really figure out if this works and how it works. Devin Booker obviously came back. Bradley Beal's dealing with a back injury. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. He does Kevin Durant things. But we've seen the story of the Phoenix Suns where you rely heavily on just two guys to carry the weight of an entire team against teams that are stacked, against teams that are deep. And my question is, if they're not going to play the type of team basketball they did when Devin Booker was out and they faced the Denver Nuggets, and everybody had points, assists, rebounds in some way, shape, or form. That's not the DNA of this Suns team. They don't normally play like that. How do you go against a Denver Nuggets team? How do you go against a Clippers team? How do you go against a Timberwolves? Like, how do you go against maybe Timberwolves? I think is a good example, but
I think they beat the Timberwolves. Yeah, because Cat's out. Look, I don't think anybody. I was going to say that I don't think anybody's beating Denver. That's not true. I think I have Denver as a big favorite against anybody they play, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming everybody's healthy. Against the Clippers, it's a war of attrition because when you look at that Clippers team, and largely for me, that's Kawhi Leonard, but it's Paul George too. And then you look at the Phoenix Suns, every one of those guys that matter are ticking time bombs of possible injuries. Mm-hmm. But if I told you, because this is not always natural to my personality, but I'm being very optimistic here, very positive. If I told you the Phoenix Suns, their big three, Beal, Durant, and Booker, would all be healthy for at least the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, would you be willing to power rank them as a top 6 team? They're 6 now in Collins. I think I would. I think I would.
I'm 50-50 on that because I'm somebody who really believes in team basketball. And I don't believe in this day and age. If this were 12 years ago, 15 years ago, when, the big threes were a thing and everyone had a big three and it didn't really matter because it was big three versus big three, I would say, yeah, I believe it. But I think that teams are a lot less focused on getting 3 superstars together for instant gratification and more interested in building teams top to bottom that are really, really deep and well constructed. And I think Phoenix although they have guys I'm huge fans of, and I think that the talent between the three of them is there, I don't know how you can bet against a team that has that level of talent and then some. That's my concern for them. Is there enough outside of the names that you mentioned to get it done? Because everyone has an off night. Everyone has a bad game. What do you do in the interim during that process is a maker or a breaker when it comes to winning a series sometimes. And that's my concern with Phoenix.
Look, you make a good point in the fact that I don't think that this is a well thought out plan for a basketball team. It's a newish now then owner who came in and got his hands dirty and got in there, and they've traded away their future. It has to work now. They are not, name whatever, they're not the Celtics, they're not the Thunder, they're not any of these teams that are currently championship contenders or will be. So I think it was a mistake, but I do find myself just being seduced by the talent. Do I think they can beat everybody and win 4 playoff series? No, I don't. They'll run out of steam. They don't have depth. You're right. I think that they can shock some teams if they get the right matchups early in a postseason. And maybe I'm just captivated by last night. And by the way, they barely beat that Cavs team, but
barely.
Those 3 guys are talented. And when Book is back, they're just a different basketball team. So I'm cautiously optimistic on an Optimism Tuesday that it's going to work for Phoenix.